What's going on, guys? Welcome. Today, I'm going to be pretty much explaining how I manifested my wife 13 years ago and kind of giving the full backstory. Before we get into it, if you want to work with me, the link is in the bio. I have a bunch of different options. I'm going to be having a lot more coming out soon. Um, but let's get into this. So, a big thing for reference before we get into the actual story is you don't know how it's going to materialize. You can't force it. You have to naturally let it happen. It's a guarantee. It can happen in the most unexpected ways. And this is extremely true for my SP story back then. So I met her when I was 19. I'm 32 now. We've been together for 13 years. We've been married for 7, and we've got a 5-year old. It's great. We've never broken up, never had any issues, all of this stuff. It's awesome. So, backtrack. So, prior to my wife ever entering into my life in any capacity, my SP story started with a prior ex. I had wanted to manifest her back because I was infatuated with her, thought I was going to marry her, all this stupid shit. And we broke up on my birthday, and I was devastated. I'm like, no, I want her back, this, that, and the other. So again, I did all the shit. I did all the techniques, all the affirmations, all the visualizations, the scripting, all of this stuff, and got nowhere with it. And we ended up talking one day, and she was like, hey, I'm going to visit my family up north for a couple weeks. Um, let's take a break. Don't talk. Let's let it be. And when I get back, we can sit down and talk and kind of figure out where we're at. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. So in my head, I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to avoid her. I'm going to go do my thing. And then that is somehow going to make this all work. So over the course of these next couple weeks, she's supposed to be up there for 2. And again, she's with all of her family. That's where she's from. So she texts me like 3 days before she's coming back. She's like, hey, I'm just letting you know I'm staying an extra 2 weeks. Um, just wanted to give you a heads up so you didn't think I just fell off the face of the earth. I'm like, all right, cool. See you in a couple weeks. During this time, I was getting used to not being around her. I was getting used and over to the fact of like, hey, I'm gonna focus on myself because prior to I was miserable. And so I was like, okay, I need to start doing stuff for myself. I started focusing solely on me, doing all the things that I wanted to, having fun with all my friends, doing all this stuff. Because I mean, I was a right out of high school, fresh in like senior year and all that stuff. And so I was like, okay, no big deal. So as time goes by, she comes back into town. We meet up. We have a conversation. And during this conversation, I quickly realized that I don't want this anymore. Like I quickly realized that I was infatuated with an idea of her, of a facade of her, of something that I built up in my head that was not real. And I quickly realized that I didn't want to be with her. So when I came to that realization, I was like, you know what? I'll just let it be, just kind of let it ride out. We talked and we are like, hey, we're not ready for this. Let's just revisit this down the road. Like, let's stay in touch and do all this and see how it goes. Let's just kind of naturally let this happen. So we did that for a little bit, and then I ended up running into her one day shortly after, like, not by accident, but like we weren't expecting to meet up and just happened to run into her. And it hit me like a ton of bricks that I was like, yeah, definitely am done. Like, don't want anything to do with this anymore. Like, not who I want to be with. And later on that day, she shot me a text. She's like, "Oh, it was good seeing you. It'd been a couple weeks, all this stuff." And I'm like, "Hey, yeah, listen, we need to talk. Like, this isn't gonna go anywhere. It is what it is. We could stay friends. We're friends with all the same people. That's not a big deal. Whatever. But this just isn't gonna go anywhere." And she's like, "Okay, cool." Like we were both mutual with that, so we went about our ways. So fast forward a couple of months, I'm living life, doing my thing. I'm back in my flow of doing all my stuff. I'm hanging out with my friends. I'm going out on dates. I'm not looking for anything serious because I really don't give a shit. I'm 18, 19 years old, just living it up, hanging out with whoever I want to, going to parties, doing this, doing that, and the other. And so one day, randomly, I had gotten a follow on Instagram. And so I went and checked to see who it was. And I'm like, profile picture, I'm like, oh, she's really cute. Just typical curiosity. Because at the same time, like, I was also really big in the fitness space back in 2011, 2012. So I had a relatively large following on Instagram. So I would get tons of people who followed me that were not local and all of this stuff just because of me being who I was in the industry at the time. So that was pretty normal. So I'm like, oh, just out of curiosity, I want to go see if she was local, this, that, and the other. Found out that she was. She didn't. She was in the same town. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. I think she's really attractive, so I followed her, whatever. And was sitting there looking at her pictures, and she had a picture of the logo of the gym that I was a part of, but I was also personal training out of at the same time. So I was at this gym day in and day out, like 10, 12 hours a day. And I'd never seen her before. And I knew everybody at this gym. So I'm like, oh, I wonder what time she goes if I've never seen her in my entire life. And so I shot her a comment on the picture, and I'm like, hey, do you go to this gym? Like, I'm up here all the time. Excuse me. When are you up here? I've never seen you. And she's like, oh, no, that was actually why I followed you. I wanted to get back into the gym, and that gym I went and looked at when they opened months ago, and I thought it was really nice, but I didn't know how it was, so I posted that picture a couple weeks ago to see if anybody would tell me if they liked it or not. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I actually go there and all that stuff. She's like, yeah, that's what one of my friends had told me, which ended up being a mutual friend of ours that me and her were not very close in high school. I knew who she was, but we never really interacted. And that was kind of the facilitator for her to give me a follow and do all of this shit. So as we're talking, I'm like, hey, well, if you want, I offer personal training. I know that's what you're looking for. But if you want to come out on Monday, you can come out for the first day for free, see how it is, see if it's something you actually want to get into. We can talk about your goals, this, that, and the other, and we'll go from there. So she's like, yeah, that'd be great, whatever. So shoot her my message with my number and stuff, and I'm like, hey, shoot me a text whenever you're going to be there. This is the time I'm going to be there. Does that work for you? Yada, 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 all the things. So fast forward, I get there a little bit early because I just got there earlier. She lived further away from the gym at the time than I did, and I'm standing outside with my buddy. I shoot her a text, and I'm like, hey, I'm here, just letting you know. So whenever you get here, just shoot me a text, and I can meet you in the parking lot. We can go in, because I got to sign you in as a guest and all this shit. So as we're standing there, she shoots me a message, and she's like, hey, I'm running late. I hit some traffic, so I'll shoot you a text whenever I get there. So I'm like, that's fine. I'm hanging out, talking to my buddy, and as we're standing there, a couple minutes goes by, and this girl walks by across the parking lot, and I get like a side profile of her, and I'm like, holy shit, she is gorgeous. I was like, so I told my buddy, it's a joke now, like my wife is fully aware of this. I ended up telling her relatively soon after, just because it is pretty funny. But I told my buddy, I'm like, hey, I need her to hurry the hell up because I got to figure out who that is. And so then I get a text from her saying like, hey, I ran in, I had to use the bathroom, I'm up front. So I'm like, okay, no big deal. She must have snuck by because we were on one end of the parking lot. There could have been a bunch of on the other side. Well, come to find out, as we're walking in, that girl that I was like, hey, I need to figure out who this is standing up at the front, and that is my wife. So that's why it's so funny, because I was like enamored over her. I'm like, holy shit, she's gorgeous. So obviously I didn't tell her this day one. That would have been really weird and all that shit, because again, the whole intention, there was nothing behind it other than giving her the ability to come see if this gym would work, and we could talk about her goals and all that stuff for a potential personal training client. So also at the same time, I'm working out primarily with one of my buddies, and a couple weeks prior, his fiance started coming to the gym with us. So it was slowing my workouts down a little bit. And so that was the dynamic that was put in there that I wasn't too happy about, because I was a competitive bodybuilder. I was the youngest person to ever compete nationally. I had a following. I had some sponsors. I was doing really well with all of it. So because of that, I was like, hey, I've got to figure this out. Like internally, I was like, all right, I got to figure this out because this is not conducive for what I'm doing. I'm chasing a goal and working and all of this stuff. So in my head, I'm like, okay, this is another avenue for this that I need to get worked out. It was completely unrelated to my wife at the time, but it ties into it because, so we have our first workout. We get along. It's a good conversation. It's nothing deep. It's just surface level stuff. Just like, oh yeah, what about this, and this? And so when we're done, me and my buddy and his fiance were going to go get a bite to eat. So I told her, I'm like, hey, if you want to come with us, we're going to the restaurant right across the street. They know we're coming. I'm there every fucking day. They have my food sitting out. Like, this is what I do. So if you want to come grab a bite to eat, I've got you. We can talk a little bit more to see where you're at with all this. So she's like, yeah, sure. We go sit down. We're all eating and stuff. And she's like, yeah, I'd love to work with you. It was a good workout, and you obviously are very knowledgeable without all this, and I felt safe doing it because you weren't like pushing me or egotistical with any of that. You made sure to take the time and do what I had to do. And so I'm like, all right, cool. So we're sitting there and just like small talk and shooting shit and stuff like that. And then it dawns on me, I'm like, hey, you know what? This could actually benefit me for my workouts because all four of us could work out together, but we could have this altered a little bit to where they weren't holding us up. Like they could work out together and we can work out together and I can help her and do all of this stuff. All at the same time make my life easier. So I'm like, hey, you know what? I was like, this is gonna sound really weird. If it's not cool, let me know. But I've got an idea. I was like, you can come work out with us for free, and I won't charge you for personal training. I was like, because now you and her can work out and I can help you. I'll still be fully involved, but I was like, it'll make my life easier on my training and all of this stuff. I was like, so I was like, if that's not what you want, you just want personal one-on-one stuff, that's perfectly fine too. I got no problem with that. I was like, I'm just thinking I can help you out by doing this for free instead of you spending a couple $100s a month. You get all the benefits from it and I can help you, and then it in turn helps me out at the same time. So she's like, yeah, that would be cool. We can see how that goes. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We can alter it as we go. I'm like, all right, perfect. This is great. So I'm like, all right, well, we'll be back up here on Monday, and we can kind of get it sorted from then. So I was like, all right, cool. And a couple days goes by, obviously, because she was busy for the rest of the week, so she was only able to do that one day that week. So obviously, I was still up there every day, all this stuff. And then the weekend rolls around, and she shoots me a text on Friday, and she's like, "Hey, I know you're probably out with your friends or anything like that, but I just wanted to touch base and like confirm for Monday because we were gonna go to somewhere. I don't remember where, but if we're going to the gym Monday, obviously." I want to kind of work my schedule around that because I want to be fresh and ready to go for like day one of actually doing this. So I'm like, no, I'm at my house. Like I don't go out and fucking party with anybody. Like I stick to myself now. Like I'd occasionally go out with my buddies and do all that stuff, but I didn't really care at this point because everything started like firing off a little bit more over that course a couple months between my ex and this point in time. So I was like, no, you're not bothering me, whatever. That sounds good. Yeah, I'll be up there at this time on Monday and just let me know. And that was it. Didn't talk. And then Monday rolls around and we train, we do all the stuff. It actually works really well. The flow that we have to, where all four of us are getting along. It's very nice. But again, during this whole time, it was literally me thinking of like, hey, this is benefiting me because I'm helping her and she's helping me in return for me to focus on my own thing and do all of this. So it's a little bit easier and it's a little bit more lax because she's not a paying client, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Again, selfish reasoning behind it at the time for my own personal gain when it came to the gym. And again, she's aware of all of this. It is what it is. Like I was very transparent with her day one of like breaking down why I'd be willing to do this because she was like, "Well, why would you let me do it for free?" Because it came off as like I was trying to hit on her or get with her or anything. So I made that abundantly clear. I'm like, "Hey, this is not what this is. This is the real reason." I was like, "It sounds shitty, but it is what it is. Take it or leave it. If you want to do that, cool. If not, we can. You be a paying client. I don't give a shit." So obviously she jumped at it because it was saving her a bunch of money and she was getting the benefit from it. So fast forward, we were working out for that first week. Random talks, like just small talks again. There's nothing there. I thought she was incredibly attractive and I wanted to get to know her, but at the same time, like I'm able to be professional and differentiate that. And I was like, hey, none of that actually matters. That's inappropriate for what we're doing. Like this is the goal. Don't overlook that and overstep. Like you've built everything off of integrity. You're not going to change that now. And so during this time, we would have small talk and all that stuff, but it was literally just strictly business. Like anytime outside of the gym, there was no conversation, no nothing, none of that. And over the next like 2 3 weeks, we talk a little bit more and a little bit more and all this. And 2 weeks in to us like getting to know each other, she had shot me a text on a Saturday night, and she was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was like, "Sitting at my house. I just got back from the gym, and then I went and got some food, and I'm back here just hanging out. Like, what's going on?" She's like, "Oh, I figured you'd be out." And I'm like, "I don't go out anymore. Like I went out a couple months ago. I'd go out every now and again." I was like, "But I don't do anything fun. I don't go hang out with people. I work on my business, work on the gym stuff, do all my content shit, and then I'm back at the house." I was like, "So I'm kind of boring." And she's like, "Yeah, I'm out with some friends. I'm kind of bored too. That's why I was hitting you up because I didn't know what you were up to. I was going to see if you wanted to come out." And I'm like, "Thanks, but no thanks. Don't really want to." So that was that. And then Monday rolls around and she's back at the gym and we start chatting a little bit more. And So she starts asking questions because this day my buddy and his fiance couldn't come to the gym, so it was just me and her. So we're there, we're talking. It's good conversation, all that, and then we start talking a little bit more just about personal stuff. So she's like, um, she had made mention that she had went out over the weekend to go hang out with some friends at one of their houses. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, have you known them for a while? Like, just kind of small talk, all that stuff. And she was like, yeah, well, I'm actually seeing one of them, and then the other two of my best friends. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I was like, that's awesome that you're seeing somebody. And so she, of course, asked, she's like, are you seeing anybody? I'm like, no, of course not. Like, I don't have time for any of that shit. And that was about the extent of it. Because as soon as I heard that, I'm like, okay, well, even the mild curiosity that I've got, and the fact that I'm like into her, even in the slightest capacity, that shit's null and void. Like, she's seeing somebody, I want nothing to do with it. I'm not meddling with that stuff because, again, I'm also very egotistical in that sense, to where it's like I could get in and mess some stuff up and all that fucking dickhead 19-year-old shit. Of course, that ran through my mind, but I'm like, no, that's beneath me. Absolutely not. I'm better than that. No, it's just, it's cool, whatever. Like, and so the conversation got a little bit more consistent. Not like we were texting or talking or anything like that. Just casual conversation. But um, she had messaged me a couple days later, and she's like, "Hey, I wanted to know, like, I'm not able to go to the gym today, but after, do you want to go get a bite to eat?" And I told her, I'm like, "Hey, listen, I was like, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. It'd be fun because it's been nice getting to know you over the last like couple weeks, but you're seeing somebody, so no, that's completely off the table. Like, it's literally just gym and that's it. Like, there's nothing beyond that because I'm not gonna be disrespectful and cause any problems inadvertently. Like, have no desire for that. There's no reason to even open that door." And she was like, okay, well, whatever. She's obviously disappointed, I could tell, but she understood and respected that because she's not a piece of shit. So we carried on for about another week or two. And then, of course, like, she would text me every now and again, like, just about the gym and stuff like that. And she would try to spark up a conversation. And I would kind of nip it in the butt, to where I'd just not respond or leave her on red or anything like that. Because, again, my whole mind is I'm not even cracking that door open. I'm not even entertaining that possibility because I know how I am, and I know that I can be a snake if I really want to, and I don't want to. I don't want to disrespect her like that because I genuinely did like her. Like, and that was very evident, like, internally. I knew that I was into her and wanted to talk to her and do all that stuff, but I kept myself at bay out of respect for her and him, and not even entertaining that. And so she would text every now and again, and she she had called me on a Friday night. She had skipped the gym that day. She called me on a Friday night at like 11 o'clock crying because she went over to her friend's house with the guy that she was seeing, and it was this big to do. Everybody got super drunk, and he ended up like messing the night up or some shit, and she realized that she was just done, and she was like, I was just kind of entertaining it for X, Y, and Z reasons. I never really liked him, all this stuff. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry that happened. I hate that for you, but whatever. And again, that was like our first night of like actually hanging out, because she had called me crying, telling me that like all this shit happened. She asked if we could meet up, and I'm like, yeah, sure, that's fine. I was like, whatever. But again, in my head, I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go make sure she's all right. I have no intention of it progressing past that and leaving it at that. So we hung out, and we ended up talking for hours that night. I think it was we drove around in her car for hours. We probably put like 250 miles on her car. And so as we're hanging out, she's like, yeah, I'm not into him. Whatever. It's just not going to work. Whatever. And so I was like, okay. Like, in my head, I'm like, okay, well, the door's open. I'm obviously not just going to jump in it immediately. Like, I'll give it a little bit of time and then kind of see how it naturally goes. Because, again, I had no intention of, like, trying anything. No intention of being in a relationship. I knew that I was into her, but that was about the extent of it. And so it progresses for like about another week or two, and then the mutual friend of ours had asked if she can come to the gym to try it out, because she was planning on either getting a membership there or another gym, and so she wanted to try it out one night to make sure she was going to go to the gym, because she was also friends with my wife, all this stuff. So I'm like, yeah, that's fine, come on down. So we all are together that one night at the gym, and her friend and her kind of go off and do their own thing. Um, and that was it. So I was working out by myself that night, and they came back and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna go cook dinner at your wife's house. Why don't you come along?" So at this point, she was a couple weeks out of seeing this guy, all this stuff, and again, I was kind of holding it off. She would want to talk, she would push for the talks more, and she would get frustrated and annoyed with me that I wasn't talking to her, wasn't really giving her the time of day. And again, it wasn't intentional of like, oh, I'm gonna make her like me by doing all that stupid stuff. It was like, just again, not where my head was. Had no intention of anything. So I was like, yeah, that's fine. You know what? We've been going to the gym together and hanging out and talking for about a month and a half, almost 2 months at this point. And so I ended up going over there and we have dinner and all that stuff. And then um, that was about the extent of it. And then a couple days later, they invited me back over for dinner because they were going to make something that they wanted to make and they want me to try. Whatever. I enjoyed the last time we all hung out, so I'm like, yeah, sure. So this is kind of where more of the notion of not knowing how it's going to go and just allowing it to go falls into place. So that day, my wife and my buddy's fiance were working out together. Everything was fine. Was supposed to go over there to do dinner with my wife and her friend. And at the end of the night, when we were getting ready to leave, my wife would not talk to me. She was like very short with me, very upset and frustrated and all this stuff. So finally we're walking out and I'm like, listen, I was like, if I'm coming over there, I was like, what's going on? I was like, because like we're not together. There's nothing going on, but I don't understand why you're acting this way. Like I'm not into all of this stuff. Like we're not together. That's a big thing. Like you have to be aware of that. So she was like, it just kind of bothered me that your friend's fiance was telling me all about your girlfriend and on how, like, I need to be careful. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, not true. So we talked in the parking lot for a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, this is not true at all. So she was like, okay. So come to find out, what ended up happening, I found this out a while later when I ran into my buddy years later. Because they had split. Come to find out that she was upset that I was hanging out with her because her and my buddy were having problems in their relationship, so she was making sure that nothing got kicked up with us. So inadvertent, just figured that out down the road. But back to where I was. We we got that all hashed out, went over to her house. And her grandpa, she was living at her grandpa's house at the time, and he would always move out of state for a couple of weeks because he had a house in another state, so he'd be back and forth about 50-50. So the second time that I went over there, her grandpa was there. So I'm like, all right, awesome. Love to meet him. She was constantly talking about him. He sounded really cool. Walked in, and prior to like us leaving to go over there, she was like, hey, just letting you know he's very standoffish with people. He does not like a lot of the people that I hang out with. So if he's short-tempered with you, or not short-tempered, but just short conversation-wise and just kind of standoffish, don't take it to heart, whatever. So I'm like, okay. So we go over there, I meet him, instantly walk in. I walk up to him, shake his hand, we start talking, and we instantly hit it off. Just instantly hit it off. And it's like a really funny part of the story because between him and my wife had a Chihuahua at the time that she ended up having for like 16 years. She passed away like a year and a half ago. But at the time, like prior to us first ever hanging out, she's like, hey, I'm just letting you know I have a dog. Don't mess with her. She nips. She doesn't like people except for like me and like two other people. She's like, so don't even bother. I'll bring her up so I got to let her out, and that's about it. So I was like, okay, no big deal. So the first time, didn't really have any interaction with the dog whatsoever. Well, the second time, since her grandpa was there, the dog was just running around. So I sat on the couch and I was talking to her grandpa while her and her friend were cooking. It was a good time. And her dog came up and she immediately was like, hey, she probably won't bother with you. Just, it is what it is. So the dog walks up and immediately jumps on the couch and gets in my lap and lays down and goes to sleep. And she's like flabbergasted because this doesn't happen with anybody else. So I'm sitting there petting her dog, talking to her grandpa, having a good time. And we eat dinner, we hang out, whatever. I'm getting ready to leave and she walks out and she's like annoyed with me. So I'm like, listen, you were annoyed with me earlier because of some lie that you were fed. I was like, what are you possibly annoyed with me about? She's like, the fact that my grandpa and my dog like you immediately, I don't like that because I don't want them to like you. So I'm like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? She's like, because I already like you and I don't want more reasons to like you because I don't know if this is even a tangible thing, if I'm the only one that's seeing this, and I don't know if I'm fucking crazy or not. So I started laughing, and so that's like day one of like me telling her like listen, this is how it is. I think you're very attractive. I enjoy hanging out with you. Like I'd love to hang out with you and talk more, but I've been keeping it at bay because that's it. Like it was for working reasons and all of that stuff. Like not trying to be some piece of shit. So we kind of opened the air about all of that, and then from then on, we started to hang out and talk more. I finally started to talk to her more and all that stuff, and it slowly progressed into what it is now. And I mean, we've been together for 13 years now. We've been married for 7. We've got a 5-year-old. We've just moved into our third house. Like I've been with her from 19 to 32. She was 22. But again, like tying back into the circumstances don't matter about all of this. So leading up to all of this, on top of that, I knew that she was mutual friends with this girl that I went to high school with, so I automatically assumed that she was my age. I didn't know that she was 3 years older than me. So at the time, I'm 19, she's 22. And so when I finally figure out that she's 22, I'm like, she doesn't realize that I'm 19. Like, it didn't click for me. Obviously, she did because I graduated with her friend. She knew how old her friend was, all of this shit. But in my infinite stupidity at the time, I'm like, she probably doesn't know I'm 19. I was like, so this might be a problem. This was like a couple days after we started talking more. And we're finally like just transparent about it because it had been a while now that we've been interacting. And so I was like, fuck it. You know what? I have to rip the Band-Aid off because I'm not going to sit here and drag it out and then have this awkwardness a couple weeks down the road. So I'm like, that night that I see her, I'm like, hey, you do realize that like I'm 19. Like I just realized that you're 22. And she's like, is that a problem? And I'm like, not for me. I don't care. I was like, but you're aware that I'm 19. Like I'm 3 years younger than you. She's like, yes, I'm aware. I don't care. So I'm like, okay. But again, another irrelevant thing that wouldn't happen. But so as we're talking, come to find out that this is again another big proponent on how you never really know when things are quiet and nothing seems to be working. That's when everything's working in the background. So come to find out that we had been interconnected for years prior to, and we had no idea about it. Um, it's really funny now, but her ex-boyfriend that she was dead set on marrying and all of this stuff prior to meeting me. Me and him actually had a bunch of run-ins in high school where we had like physical altercations because I didn't like him. So me and him would like fight all the time. Thought that was hilarious. And then obviously like she's got the um connection to this mutual person that like I had known my entire high school career, but never really like knew her. She would sit at the same lunch table because she knew some of the people that I knew, and it was just this big cluster of people. She was at my graduation. She knew who I was walking across the stage because my friend had told her about me. Because again, back in my senior year of high school, I just competed in my first show. I was really one of the only people in school that was actively working out, and I was relatively large. But also prior to, in ninth grade, I was like 100 pounds soaking wet. So a lot of people knew me. This is kind of how that crossover between the mutual friend came to be. So we had all that connections, and then we were friends with a lot of the same people. We would go to the same places. And then one of the funnier things that we actually found out about 3 or 4 years into us being together is that we had a college class together, and we sat like right next to each other and had no idea. So we were talking, and it's just funny with all the connections and all of like the little misses and passes that we've had for years leading up to when we actually met. Um, I was telling her because I dropped out of college after 6 weeks to go after competing in bodybuilding. I went to compete nationally and became the youngest person to ever compete nationally. Because I got a bunch of sponsorships and all that stuff, I didn't want to do school, yada, 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 so I dropped out. Well, I decided to keep this one class, which is public speaking, because I enjoyed it. And because of that, I was telling her, like, the story, because she had graduated, got a degree, and all this shit. And I was telling her, I'm like, yeah, the only class that I kept was my public speaking class. And she's like, oh, I took it at this time too. I'm like, oh, that's when I had mine. And there were 4 public speaking classes that went on in the same hallway at the same time. So I'm like, this is where I went. And she's like, yeah, I was there too. And of course, we didn't know that we had the class at the exact same time because they went all day. And I was like, yeah, it's really funny. It's the only class that I actually went to. And excuse me, for the final, we had to present something for like 5 minutes, and we had to just get up in front of the class and speak, and that's how we were graded and all this stuff. I was like, and I did mine last. I was like, because I did mine on manifestation, and I could talk about it for hours. I was like, so I did my 5 minutes, and then the teacher asked me to keep going, and then everybody ended up staying. And it was like an hour after class. It was the last class of the week, all this shit. So I ended up staying an extra hour just yapping about all this, and everybody ended up staying and enjoying it. And she was like, holy shit, that's the class that I was in. She's like, I didn't realize that was you that did that. She's like, I remember that the last person to go, it stuck out with me that we all stayed for an extra hour because he was talking about this stuff that I didn't really understand. She's like, but it was really interesting to me at the time. So it was just another crossover, but it's again when you hear people say like you can't worry about the how. This is what it's meant. Like when it's quiet, all of these things are working and going on and happening behind the scenes that you're unaware of. And it's just one never ending thing. I mean, if you look at the progression, it went from me trying to manifest an X back, coming to the realization that it didn't actually want that, it's staying quiet, not looking at anything, and then all of these things naturally unfolded that were there behind the scenes that I had no idea about that ended up inevitably leading into a 13-year relationship. I've literally been with her for a third of my life, more than a third of my life. And it's been incredible. And I mean, even up till then, there's other things that have happened within our relationship that are the exact same way. Like, I'd always wanted a son. She never wanted kids. Like, my son has the name that I've been sitting on since, what, for 20 years? Maybe a little bit more than 20 years. Um, yeah, a little over 20 years, I'd say, because there was a kid in my sister's kindergarten class that had my son's name, and I fell in love with it. And for the longest time, I said that exactly is what I'm gonna name my son. And when we got together, at that point in time, like not having a son at some point, obviously not when I was 19, but when I was older and like stable and all that shit, was a deal breaker. And she was very upfront. Like after we started getting to know each other, she's like, absolutely not. I don't want kids. Never wanted kids. And I was like, okay, no big deal. But again, it wasn't like, oh, well, this was supposed to be perfect. Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. I was just like, okay. Internally, I'm like, at some point, some way, shape, or form, we'll have a son. I'm not worried about it. And even if it doesn't, that's fine. I don't care either way. Um, and then even then, with that, we'd gotten married about a year into us being married. She randomly came to me one day. Mind you, we didn't talk about this at all because it was just set in stone. Like, hey, not going to happen. I respected that. No big deal. And she was like, hey, I want to have a kid. And I'm like, you're full of shit. But no, absolutely not. Like, you're crazy. She's like, no, I'm serious. I want to have a kid. And so we ended up having our son. And but again, it's just the whole process of like surrendering to it. Because if you look at the timeline of it, it was based off of somebody else. I realized that's not what I wanted because what I actually wanted out of the relationship wasn't there. So I was able to let it go, even though I was so hell bent on trying to get that one person back. And that didn't work, but I surrendered to the notion of like, hey, you know what? This is happening for me. And I was able to pour into myself. The more I poured into myself, it put me in a position to be able to be happy and train like I was and run my business and do all of these things. On top of that, the inner workings of this mutual friend came into play because this also happened like while I was still in high school and all that shit. And so I opened up more. I was talking to more people. I was doing this. I was doing that. Everybody knew who I was because of the gym and X, Y, and Z. All these extenuating circumstances that came into play that I was completely unaware of. That was setting the foundation to bring this opportunity right to my doorstep. And again, even when it was presented, there were still obstacles to come by. Like I had zero intention of doing anything because I found out that she was seeing somebody, and I respected that. And I'm like, hey, I'm not going to overstep any boundaries here or like do anything shitty. And it was just a natural progression, and everything that needed to happen did happen. Like, there was a third party involved, and I wasn't like, oh my god, what the hell am I going to do, this, that, and the other. That naturally fell away, and because that naturally fell away, it gave us an opportunity to get close because she was upset and emotional about something. Not that it was like taking advantage of on my end, but it was just another time for us to be able to hang out and actually get to know each other unabidedly. And that's kind of the natural progression of this. This is the biggest thing for a lot of people when it comes to materializing an SP. You get so hell bent on the details of it, and you thinking it needs to go. Excuse me. You think it needs to go a certain way, and it doesn't look like it's working, so you think that it's not. When in all actuality, when it doesn't look like it's working, that means it's working the fastest, because now it's just going on behind the scenes where you're not meddling in it. You're not slowing it down. You're not consciously messing anything up by sitting here and playing into the story of it's not working out. You have to naturally let this thing happen, because again, if you set that intention of like, this is what I want, it's not always going to look exactly how you want it, and that's okay. It's not meant to all the time. Like, can it play out that way? Absolutely. But again, the biggest thing is surrendering to it and knowing like, hey, no matter what, this is the relationship that I have. Because I did all of that unknowingly. I thought that I'd messed it up because I wasn't visualizing enough with the X, or affirming enough, or doing this, doing that. I figured my subconscious was messed up and all of this shit. And again, even though I had known about manifestation for 7 years, 8 years at the time, I was still struggling with it, because I was still under the impression of it was do, and techniques and affirmations and all of this shit, when it's not. It's just identity. And this was kind of the first like inkling to me of like, hey, it might not be the way that I thought it was, because I went against the grain, and then I started to like look back and analyze of like, how did I actually manifest this? Because I knew that I had, because the relationship is exactly what I wanted. She's looks exactly the way that I wanted her to. She acts the way that I wanted her to. Everything about it is exactly what I had wanted in the past. And so I started analyzing it, and I'm like, okay, well, it might not be these things. So, like, what is it then? And then that kind of started the ball rolling of me searching and digging and figuring out, like, that it's nothing more than identity. You have to be who you want to be prior to, and it's not just the fluff and smoke and mirrors of law of attraction that I was kind of taught from, which was The Secret. And it's made it a lot easier, and it was kind of a cool thing to see, like, kind of how it all played out and the progression of everything, because it was completely unexpected. And that's kind of the fun of it. Like, yes, we want to take this viewpoint and hammer it out exactly this one specific way, but the only reason we actually want it to come out that one way is because we've kind of rationalized that in our head, so we're comfortable with that. That seems feasible and tangible to us. And that's completely irrelevant. Just because it's not tangible to us and we can't wrap our head around it doesn't mean that it's impossible. I mean, we're dealing with the infinite here, people. There's infinite possibilities coming from this. But again, if you kind of look back and think, like, when you surrender to it and you come from a place of confidence and knowing, like, hey, I've got this in the bag, it really doesn't matter, then it's inevitable. You start dealing with inevitability here. And that's the biggest takeaway from this. So it's like the story of like how I manifested her and all this stuff turned out to be also inadvertently the starting place for me to really understand how manifestation actually works and identity works and all of this stuff, which is again ultimately set me on the trajectory to be able to teach so many people exactly what we're dealing with here and kind of get through the smoke and mirrors of it. So it's not even like it's all interconnected. If you really want to take the story apart and see the interconnections of everything, it's all just part of the story. It's all naturally going to fall into place. It's kind of the beauty of all of it. So the biggest takeaway from this story here is, one, a lot of people are like, well, that's just how you guys met. What's the point of that? You guys need to understand something, that it's not just how we met. It's the principles leading up. That's why I gave the backstory of the ex, because I was there. I was where you guys are at. And then I finally just let go and I stopped caring. And the second that I let go and stopped caring, that thing in front of me at the time fell apart. And it wasn't from a place of fear or panic of like, oh my God, I'm not going to manifest this. I need to try harder. I need to do more. I need to affirm more. I need to do these techniques. It was coming to an understanding of like, okay, this fell apart and it wasn't me questioning it. It was a blaring in the face, very obvious reason of why this is happening for me. Because it's not what I actually wanted. I realized that this was hindering me. I could look back and see that I was letting myself go and not focusing on myself and putting her first and taking away from myself emotionally and physically and all of these things. And it was a natural viewpoint of it and a natural shift that was supposed to happen. And because of that, I was able to let go and surrender to it. And I didn't really care. I wasn't fixated on having a relationship at that time. I wanted to pour into myself as much as possible, and that was my focus. And that time frame in between those two, a lot of people would freak out about because they're like, well, I don't want to wait that long. You also have to realize that there's extenuating circumstances that, like, I wasn't avidly talking to anybody. I wasn't going out and doing anything. I was going on dates and doing this, but it was all superficial physical stuff. Like, that was the extent of it. That is the extent of where I had it at. I was not actively looking for anybody. Nobody actually sparked my interest because I never gave them the time of day. It was purely just super level or surface level shit, and that is where I chose to keep it. So that time frame between the ex and my wife was self-induced because I had no intention of doing anything. I could have easily naturally surrendered into it and all of this shit would have happened in some other way, shape, or form, but I consciously kept it at like, no, I purposely stopped it. Like, it never got any further than what I wanted to get after. Like, that was the extent. And it was a mutual thing between me and them. So it wasn't like I was like leading anybody on or doing any shady shit, because I mean, I have more self-respect than that. But we both knew where it was. We both had no intention of it going any further in all of this. And then my wife came out of nowhere that I kind of disregarded all of that for after the fact. Like, obviously, when we first started talking and met and all that stuff, I knew that she was seeing somebody, so it was right then and there like, okay, yep, no, absolutely not, wipe my hands clean of any notion behind that. And then it naturally did what it was supposed to do and naturally materialized. And it was because it slowly got the option for me to see kind of behind the veil, to realize like she was potentially exactly what I wanted. And the more that I learned about her, the more that I realized that it was exactly what I was looking for in the relationship prior to that I was trying to manifest from the ex. So inevitably it happened naturally. That's the key thing here, is you have to let it happen naturally, because it will. It's guaranteed. It's inevitable. If you said that you have it and you know you have it, you're good. Because this whole time I wasn't like, oh my God, I need this, I need that. I was like, this is what I'm looking for. I'm not taking anything less than that. I realized that the ex wasn't capable of fulfilling that. So I was able to let it go because I realized it wasn't serving me. The relationship wasn't going to do me any good. It wasn't what I was looking for. It wasn't what I actually wanted. So I was able to let it go. But I knew what I wanted, and I knew that it was out there and tangible and I could have it easily. But I didn't care enough because I was so fixated on bettering myself. It put me in a better position. It gave me more opportunities. That's all that I really gave a shit about for the longest time, because it was just me. I had nobody else to focus on. I was a young guy. But during this whole time, again, I was keeping it all at bay without realizing it. Again, not that I really gave a shit at the time, but I also kept it surface level because I'm like, hey, I'd poured so much into myself that I was actually to the point of like, hey, I actually don't want anybody around right now. Like, I don't want to get serious with anybody because I love my freedom. I love the ability to go do and work and all of this shit. And I can be at the gym for 10, 12 hours a day. And on the weekends, I can stay at my house and eat some food and play video games and not have to talk to anybody, not have to worry about anybody. The only thing I had to worry about was clients during the day of a work day. But after that, I didn't have to answer to anybody. I loved it. I didn't want to let go of that. And then all that time, though, I was still the identity of the person that had this amazing relationship. Just because I was having dates and keeping it casual and keeping it physical and keeping it surface level and all these different aspects of it, didn't mean that I wasn't capable of having it. I knew that I had it, and that's kind of what I told myself. when that person comes up, I'll know. And when that person came up, I knew, and that was my wife. And now, fast forward 13 years later, we're still together. We've never taken a break, never split, never did anything, none of that shit. It was, it's been great. It doesn't mean that it's been perfect the whole time or easy the whole time by any stretch of the imagination. But even when it's been very difficult, it's also been very easy because it's it's all part of the game. We pull it back. You don't lean into the negative stories of that and feed into it for anything. It's just like, okay, I understand where it's coming from. It's potential of consciousness that I'm experiencing, and it doesn't really matter. Um, it doesn't change the story of the relationship being amazing. That's another big thing that you guys need to realize is you guys will get the relationship and do all of this, but you have not poured into yourself and worked on yourself to expect and demand the best, and you allow adverse things to come up and dictate your identity behind their relationship when that's the last thing that you want to do, because you also have to remember, like, shit can happen. Understanding conscious creation does not mean perfection. It means that you're able to navigate adversity very easily without deviating from who you know you are.